6 centuries, 3 continents, 1 empire that changed the world forever. This is the story of the Ottoman Empire, a saga of ambition, conquest, and legacy. From its humble beginnings as a small Turkish state to its reign as a global superpower, and finally to its dramatic collapse, the Ottoman Empire's history is a roller coaster of triumphs and tragedies. But why does this empire, which vanished over a century ago, still captivate us today? What lessons can we learn from its rise and fall? And how did it shape the world we live in now? By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the what and the why behind the Ottoman Empire, you'll see how its echoes still resonate in our modern world. So grab a seat, because this is a journey you won't forget. Let's start at the very beginning, where it all began. With a dream, a warrior, and a vision that would change history. The birth of an empire. Our story begins in the late 13th century. In the rugged hills of Anatolia, the Seljuk Empire was crumbling, and in its place, a new power was emerging. Enter Osman I, the founder of the Ottoman dynasty. But here's the thing, Osman wasn't just another warlord, he was a visionary. Picture this, a young leader surrounded by rivals, dreaming of an empire that would unite the fractured Turkish tribes and beyond. Sounds like the plot of a blockbuster movie, right? But this was real life, and Osman's dream was about to become a reality. Of course, building an empire isn't exactly a walk in the park. It's more like a marathon, with swords, arrows, and the occasional siege engine thrown in for good measure. By the time Osman died in 1326, his small principality had grown into a formidable state, but the real game changer came in 1453. Under his descendant, Mehmed the Conqueror, the Ottomans captured Constantinople, the crown jewel of the Byzantine Empire. This wasn't just a victory, it was a seismic shift in world history. But how did they do it? What made the Ottomans so unstoppable? The answer lies in their military genius and a little something called the Janissaries. Stick around, because this is where things get really fascinating. The military machine. Let's talk about the Ottoman military, the backbone of the empire. At its core was the Janissary Corps, an elite force of soldiers unlike anything the world had ever seen. These weren't just warriors, they were the empire's secret weapon. Imagine being taken from your family as a child, trained in the art of war, and molded into a loyal servant of the Sultan. Sounds harsh, right? But for the Ottomans, it was a system that worked for centuries. Here's a fun fact, the Janissaries were so powerful they even had their own marching band. Yes, you heard that right, war and music, because why not? But the Ottomans didn't stop there. They were pioneers in gunpowder warfare, using cannons and muskets to devastating effect. Their military tactics were so advanced, they became the envy of Europe. Yet, as we'll see, even the mightiest armies have their limits. And when those limits were tested, the empire began to show cracks. But before we get to the decline, let's talk about what made the Ottomans truly unique, their ability to govern a multicultural empire. The Multicultural Empire. Here's something that might surprise you. The Ottoman Empire wasn't just a Turkish state, it was a mosaic of cultures, religions, and ethnicities. Muslims, Christians, Jews, they all lived under the Ottoman banner, governed by a system known as the Millet system. Think about that for a moment. In a time when religious wars were tearing Europe apart, the Ottomans were creating a society where diversity wasn't just tolerated, it was celebrated. Sounds almost modern, doesn't it? Of course, it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine. Taxes were still a thing, and let's just say the Ottomans were very good at collecting them. But hey, even empires need to pay the bills. This multicultural approach was both a strength and a weakness. While it allowed the empire to thrive for centuries, it also sowed the seeds of internal conflict. And as we'll see, those conflicts would eventually play a major role in the empire's decline. Speaking of decline, let's fast forward to the 19th century, a time when the Ottoman Empire was no longer the invincible force it once was. What went wrong? The answer might surprise you. The decline begins by the 1800s. The Ottoman Empire was facing challenges on all fronts. European powers were rising, nationalism was spreading, and the empire's once vaunted military was struggling to keep up. But the real problem wasn't external, it was internal. Imagine an empire so vast it couldn't control its own borders. Corruption, inefficiency, and infighting were rampant. The Ottomans were no longer the masters of their own destiny. Ever heard the phrase too big to fail? Well, the Ottomans were the original final example, except they did fail, and it wasn't pretty. Reforms were attempted, but they were too little, too late. The empire was crumbling from within, and the world was changing too fast for it to keep up, but the final blow came from an unexpected source: World War I. And that's where our story takes a dramatic turn. What role did the Ottomans play in the Great War, and how did it lead to their ultimate downfall? Stay with me, because this is where history gets intense. The fall of the Ottoman Empire. World War I was a catastrophe for the Ottoman Empire. Aligning with the Central Powers, they suffered devastating losses on multiple fronts. But the real nail in the coffin came after the war, with the Treaty of Sèvres in 1920. Imagine losing not just a war, but your entire empire. Territories were carved up, independence movements surged, and the once mighty Ottomans were reduced to a shadow of their former selves. Fun fact, the Ottoman Empire was the last of the great empires to fall. The Romans, the Mongols, the Byzantines, they all had their time, but the Ottomans, they held on until the bitter end. In 1922, the empire was officially dissolved and the Republic of Turkey was born. It was the end of an era, a 600-year chapter in history that had finally come to a close. But the story doesn't end there. The legacy of the Ottoman Empire lives on, shaping the modern world in ways you might not expect. Want to know how? Keep watching. The legacy of the Ottomans. From the architecture of Istanbul to the cultural influences across the Middle East and Europe, the Ottoman Empire's legacy is everywhere. But perhaps its greatest impact was on the concept of empire itself. Think about it. The Ottomans showed the world that an empire could be more than just conquest. It could be a fusion of cultures, a bridge between East and West. Of course, they also showed us what not to do. Corruption, overexpansion, and resistance to change? Not exactly a recipe for success. But love them or hate them, the Ottomans left an indelible mark on history, and understanding their rise and fall gives us valuable lessons for today. Which brings us to the final question. What can we learn from the Ottoman Empire? The answer might just change the way you see the world. The rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire is more than just a history lesson. It's a story of ambition, resilience, and the complexities of power. From its humble beginnings to its dramatic end, the Ottomans remind us that even the greatest empires are not invincible. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. And let me know in the comments, what do you think was the Ottomans' greatest strength or their biggest mistake? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about understanding the present and shaping the future. Until next time, stay curious.